If you happen to watch 60 Minutes, as I do, and I think it's a good program, Scott Pelley had a very compelling analysis of global warming, and the man from NASA who predicted 2020 would be a time of weather chaos. So it was pretty overwhelming what they had to say. We have a guest that doesn't quite agree with that. We've had wicked weather, massive fires, and manifold storms. But is climate change the culprit for these disasters? Or is a hidden political agenda stoking the climate change movement? Take a look.
Intense hurricanes, devastating tornadoes, out-of-control wildfires. Many believe all this destruction is caused by human beings and all the carbon dioxide we create and release into the atmosphere. But what if climate change is simply naturally occurring and cyclical? That's what meteorologist Joe Bastardi believes. Not only that, he believes there's a political agenda at work behind the climate change movement. He lays it all out in a new book, The Weaponization of Weather in the Phony Climate War.
Joe Bastardi is here. And Joe, you mentioned something about H.L. Mencken. He said politics get elected by scaring the people and then saying they have an answer to this terrible thing that's going to happen. What do you mean by the weaponization of weather?
Well, I coined that term in my first book a few years ago, and people have picked up on it, and you're seeing it being done. Anyone last night on 60 Minutes talk about the near record-breaking low year of tropical activity in the Pacific, which has 4 times the amount of the activity in the Atlantic on average? Of course not. As far as wildfires go, there were 5 times more acres burned in the 1930s, where we had unbearable heat in this country. And what I do in my book is lay out chapter after chapter, refuting the very things you were seeing last night. Now, I doubt Scott Pelley is going to give me a chance to get on and do 60 Minutes, but I appreciate this. By the way, in my books, I always have a standalone page. The first book had Abe Lincoln's quote about doing the best he can. The second, this book has the heavens declare the glory of God and proclaim the work of his hands, Psalm 19.1. And Ecclesiastes 1:9, this sums it up for me. You see, Pastor, not only is this a political agenda now, but if you look at the opening of the Declaration of Independence, I don't care who wrote it. There is an absolute truth in there. God's absolute truth is in there, that you were endowed by your Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And what has happened in this climate situation here, and I call it a phony war because unless you've been in war, you shouldn't be claiming yourself to be a warrior. That's why the front cover is a satire the way it is. But what has happened here is you're seeing man's relevant truth, the view man has without perspective, going against an absolute truth. What is that absolute truth? Well, for you and me, is God's in control. Now, does that mean we just trash the planet? Of course not. So there's actually a chapter in the book, and you're not going to see skeptics' books offering the spiritual matter of this. That's a first chapter. What's this all about? It's not only political, but spiritual, in my opinion, okay? But also a solution to all this that will quell the fear, whether you or I think it's irrational or not. The fact is we have to take care of our neighbors. If you have, I'll give you an example. I write in the book. My daughter, Jessie, when she was 3 years old, all she wanted was a life-size Barbie. We got her the life-size Barbie. By the time Christmas came around, she's coming into the room and saying, the Barbie's staring at me and ordering the nutcrackers to attack me when I go to sleep. Now, did I go into the room and burn down the room and take all the nutcrackers? No, I removed the Barbie. What we do here is propose a way to remove the CO2 threat without crashing the economy, plant more trees, nuclear power, which, by the way, James Hansen and I agree 100% on that. Why aren't we using nuclear power? What are we, still hostage to Jane Fonda and the China syndrome? It's the United States in 2020, and carbon capture is very good too. And in addition, there are other measures to show people where the real polluters are in this world. It's not the United States. The United States through capitalism, freedom, and the way we do things is reducing emissions, okay? Whether they're causing it or not. Now, I happen to believe in a different cause. I believe in natural attribution overwhelms man's. Man is not the climate control now. We never have been. We never will be, in my opinion. However, I'm sensitive to folks on the other side. I look at what they're saying. I can see why, if that's what all they looked at, that's what they believe. But the fact is, there is an infinite world in the majesty of the atmosphere out there that will counter these things. And I'd like our viewers to also let your kids read this, because kids are having the wits scared out of them. It's not that complex a book, believe me. It lays out stuff. I don't get into all the theory behind CO2. It just offers factual weather counters to this hysteria that's going on. You know, this hurricane, by the way, there's another hurricane threat coming this week on the central Gulf Coast. Want to get that out. But do you know something? How is it a skeptic like me? On April 7th, we put out a map, my company. Not only did we predict a lot of storms, we predicted the United States to get hit, and we actually had the areas that were going to get hit. And you look at that, you look at what's going on in the Pacific, and you see it's a natural counter. Big year in the Atlantic, lack of a year in the Pacific. When the air is sinking over the Pacific Ocean the way it is nets what we call subsidence, it extends itself into the western United States, so it favors what we call a ridge position there. When there's a ridge position at 500 millibars, it gets dry, it gets hot. Now, as far as the wildfires go, you could tell you start me up, I'm not going to stop over here. But as far as the wildfires go, let me ask this question. Why is it in Western Canada? This is, in the last 10 years, one of the lowest years for wildfires on record. How does it suddenly change at the border for some reason? So you've got to ask yourself, is that natural, or there's some man-made influences going on? I'm not going to go into the whole, there's arson, but maybe some of the practices, the fact that we've increased our population 3 times more in the West, and there's a lot more demand on water, a lot more demand on land and forest. But that's an example of what I'm talking about. People don't look at the entire issue. It's like it's being hidden from them. And I do believe that this, when you keep looking up, okay, you keep looking up, you got to realize, and I'm sure you do, that there's smoke screens today designed to get in your way of focusing on our Heavenly Father. I believe that, okay? Right. One is, I think, this issue. So an issue that I've loved since I was 3 years old. This is all I ever wanted to do. It's my gift from the good Lord above, right? So all of a sudden, these people are coming in and they're turning it into something it's not. Now, I'm not talking about the good scientist on the other side of the issue. I'm talking about this whole cottage industry of what I consider fake warriors that, we're going to save the planet. We're going to do this and do that. Let me tell you something. In my opinion, the planet was saved about 2,000 years ago. Just that people have a debate over whether that's happening or not there. But anyway.
Joe, we appreciate it, buddy. The weaponization of weather. And by the way, on Thursday, we've gotten Dr. Hugh Ross is going to talk to us about how the Earth's axis may oscillate just a bit, and then what we're really looking at is another ice age, which was a terrible thing. This is the most benign time right now with this heat, because we can grow crops, we can have plenty of food, there's plenty of transportation and so forth. With an ice age, it won't happen. Joe Bastardi is called The Weaponization of Weather, and this book is available wherever books are sold, and is afforded here by our good friend Sean Hannity.